We finally did it. We finally climbed that pyramid. It's been a long ass time coming.
Pyramid pals.
But we got there. Got your brother Devin here. You and I went one time trying to go out there. So Cerro Tusa is what it's called. It's the world's largest natural pyramid, which apparently is the thing. Apparently mountains just
don't typically look like pyramids.
Get made like that.
It looks like a 5-year-old drew it.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's weird that like different sides that you look at it, it's like one just looks like a normal mountain, and then another one's like pointy as hell.
Yeah, you get the right angle. It looks just like a drawing.
Yeah.
It's really wild.
Really crazy. But I think real quick on the story, we were here last year and we just like stumbled on it, I think. I don't think that was like in our itinerary. We just stumbled on it.
Yeah, I can't remember how. It was like an Instagram or a TikTok video that was over here.
Hey, if there's a pyramid out there, we're gonna find it.
Or it's gonna find us.
It's gonna be found.
Yeah.
But we were gonna go that time. I think shit just didn't make sense, and we got real tired one day. We didn't go.
Yeah, it was hard.
And then I left and went back home to the States.
You only had 2 weeks here.
Yeah, 2.5 or so. And then you went with our buddy Jose, a couple other people, I think, and it was just like closed.
I don't know if we went the first time I was in Colombia or not. I think we drove out that way, but I don't know if our intention was to actually hike it that first time I was here. And then we went while we were here the first time, I think, and we wanted to go out there and get more information, and we tried to go out there and we thought we could just hike it. And that first time, if you remember, like when we first got here, we arrived and for some reason it was under construction. Like the whole mountain, I didn't even know you could put a mountain under construction. I imagine construction tape everywhere, like cones on the mountain, but I don't really know what that's. But I think the trail, realistically, was under construction, and after we hike it, it totally makes sense why, if part of it goes under construction, like you're not hiking it. And then the second time we went out, we got there at 1, which was a weekend or two after. We got there at like 1 or so. We rented the motos, and we didn't get the motos until 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then it's a 2-hour drive out there, so we got there, but maybe we stopped for breakfast or something, so I think 1 is realistic. And then they told us at the tourist spot, oh yeah, no hikes can go up after noon, after 12 o'clock, and we didn't understand why, but they told us because people get lost, which I'm sure we'll dig into in a second, because it's pretty crazy up there. And then we went and had coffee around the corner, Jose, myself, Marianne from Mexico, and Evan, and we saw this guy who, imagine what a mountain guide looks like, and that is what this guy looked like. A big, huge sun hat, just bright, like hiking shirt, and then just a tied up rope across his chest, which, lo and behold, we ended up finding out is, I think, just for looks. But yeah, he ends up identifying himself as a guide. He tells us a little bit about it. Tells, hey, Jose gets his number, and then we end up finding out that you need a guide nowadays to hike it, and then you have to start the hike before noon. And third time's a charm. We tell the guide, hey, we're coming out. We get the bikes the night before. We leave here. I think we meet Jose at 6:15, something like that in the morning, and we take off. And then we get there. Shit, I think we're at the mountain by 8:30, something like that. We were there pretty reasonable. Yeah. We were down by 1:30, I think. We did decent time. But yeah, third time's the charm. We finally made it. There's a lot of things you should know. One, again, cannot hike Cerro Tusa, cannot start your hike before noon. Or afternoon, sorry. You cannot start it after 12 o'clock in the afternoon. They will not let you. There are people that check and like start the trail too. It's interesting. Thing number 2 you should know, you need a guide nowadays, to my understanding. You need to hire a guide. There is a checkpoint before you start the actual like hike straight up.
There's a couple checkpoints.
Yeah, where they check you and they'll have to, another guide is like checking guides, and they require you to have this group to go up. So those are the 2 must-dos, and the third is prepare to sweat. It is super intense.
I think leading up to this, it was just like, there's a lot of anticipation. We love pyramids. I wouldn't say I love hiking. This guy hikes a lot, but I'm open to it. I was up for the challenge. But I think leading up to the third time, we were just doing more research, and all of us, and I want to throw it over to you in a second, like, all of us were getting a little bit more worried. Every official hiking guide we found described it as quote unquote dangerously difficult. Which, what is that even? So before we go on and give our thoughts on it, what happened, I'm gonna throw it to Devin here. Devin here had to buy hiking shoes to do this. We had to convince him a little bit, but he was a champ. He's like, I don't really hike that much, but I'll do it. So the whole hike, the whole journey from here to there to hiking up, what are your thoughts?
One, I'm not much of a hiker, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Two, second time out of the country to do this with the people that don't even really talk any English at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says it's difficult and things like that. So I get the shoes. Couldn't find really anything I wanted. The shoes sucked. We made it work. We get up there. I think what you're talking about with the guide is they communicate. They all have walkie-talkies. So up and down the hill, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. So I think the rope could be what you were saying was like a recovery.
Maybe a recovery.
Maybe so.
Maybe when you drop the walkie-talkie off the mountain, you gotta go down and get it because the guy
Yeah.
dropped the walkie-talkie like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. But it was difficult for me. These guys a little bit older than me, and I'm only 23, but you can ask them, and I'm not going to be afraid to admit it. I about died several times. And I think when they say to wear long sleeves, it's for sure the thing you need to do, because I got into my cutoff, and I was burnt to crap, dude. I had him rubbing my back with aloe. That's how bad it was.
Brothers.
Two brothers.
2 liters of water. I think you may need more. I think we were getting shy on it at the end of the hike.
Yeah,
So,
they say 2 liters of water. I would personally say 3 to be safe per person.
Yeah. I think construction, going back to this, just walking it, the hike was hard, don't get me wrong, but I think it may rain out there, and it may wash the steps down, and I think maybe they go up there and try to make better steps, because at one point it was just, you could tell there was steps there, but it was washed away.
Yeah, I don't know if it rains out there very often.
Well,
I mean, you see here, it rains
Right.
once every 4 weeks,
Right.
so who knows?
Going back to planning to go, I think there could be several reasons on why it could be shut down, or construction.
Totally.
Because you have tourists like us that have never done it, and especially me, first timer, that it could be exceptionally dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like a pretty decently
Green.
fit guy. Yeah, you're a little green, but
Right.
you definitely have done hikes with me before. Dos Hermanos in Brazil was no joke, but you did it. And there were young kids and women hiking this trail.
They didn't even look like they were sweating.
No way.
Yeah, they're
And it's
just
so
calm.
crazy.
Yeah. But for me, beginner, I guess it would be medium to a little bit harder. I'm a little bit bigger. More
Lots
water, long sleeve, lather up, and the key I think is to get there sooner.
Get there sooner.
Beat the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So that's my take on it.
No, I definitely agree with that. Lather up.
What I learned from the trip.
Pulling
Yeah.
that as a quote. Lather up, folks.
Lather up.
I think the big takeaway too, whether you speak Spanish fluently or not, none of us do. Willie's pretty good. Us
Right.
two, not so much. It's not a hike that you can just show up. It's not like the hike to the LA side, a paved hike that you just show up and hike. It's just a little hidden. You need someone who knows where it's at, or at least speaks the language so you can find out where it's at. It's the trailhead itself, and I read this a lot in a lot of blog posts of other travelers are it was really hard to find.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to find it without it. We had to go to it was Venecia.
Venecia.
Venecia was the main town, and then you took a little tuk-tuk, which is just it's basically like a bicycle underneath a motorized bicycle underneath a cover.
Yep.
Or we had motos that they drove the motos there. You have to drive maybe 7 to 10 minutes to the trailhead, which I could not find that again. And then there's a checkpoint, and then another checkpoint, and you have to have a guide. So overall, find a guide that knows what the heck they're doing. The tourist place in Venecia will help you.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's these guys have never done... I've definitely done big boy hikes. I've done Grand Canyon, I've done Yosemite, and a few other big ones. And I'll say, if you are an experienced hiker that has done stuff like that before, that's not entirely true. I think you could figure it out. If I were out there by myself, you could look up where the trailhead starts, probably find the Google Maps to it, Arguably, you could show up without a guide, probably find a guide that would welcome you into the group. A little, like, expert tip is if you are comfortable doing those things, like you have big boy hiked before, then you could probably figure it out. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't do what we're advocating for, like plan and figure it out and, like, contact dudes or go to the tourist place or whatever. But for me, it was... I would say if Grand Canyon is a 10 in difficulty, for me this was a solid 4 or 5. And simply because of the amount of time that it took. I think that is the only reason that it felt simple to some extent. The hike wasn't easy. I definitely am with you. Like, it almost felt like I was going to die too at some points. But I think hiking is a whole mental sport. Like, you just have to keep pushing, and you have to, tell yourself eventually it's going to end. And that sounds, terrible, but yeah, that's hiking.
That's how I felt.
Yeah, just like, we'll get there eventually, I know it. And this hike to the top, we spent like an hour and a half to get there. Like, it really wasn't that bad. In the Grand Canyon, I'm walking for 9 hours, 10 hours, in the open sun, no shade, like, straight down. That's hard. This was over, we were to the top in an hour and a half. That is the only reason it was simple. If we were doing this hike straight up for 5 hours, we would have been dead. Because I've never seen a trail outside of the canyon that has been that vertical.
Oh yeah,
you're using a lot of arms to even just climb this because it's pretty steep.
The ropes were really helpful going up, but they were almost. The ropes were almost absolutely needed going down. I thought
going down definitely. I even think going up.
Yeah, going up they were just like really helpful. Like I think you could go without it, but I think that's like why they probably closed it. It's like the ropes broke or the steps got washed away. But yeah, I wrote in my notes here, and I still think it's true. I think about 60% of that mountain is straight up. It's a pyramid. We all know what a pyramid shape is. Like the base is like not too bad. There was like a couple what you would call switchbacks, but other than that, it's no shortcuts. It's just straight up.
Yep.
It's like basically going up a dirt ladder.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yosemite is kind of like that too. Like when you do the cables, you are just on these metal cables that you have to climb up, and it's literally as straight up, but you're on a sheer granite cliff. That was crazy. This is just slippery dirt. Yeah, it's slippery granite in Yosemite, but dude, you slip on this dirt, like, one, you're going to eat it, in the sense you're going to fall on your face, and two, you're just going to eat a bunch of dirt. Oh, I was so dirty when we got back. But without those poles and ropes, like, one, I don't know how, I have no idea how they brought that stuff up there and did all that, but two, I don't know if regular people could do this trail if you didn't have those.
And somebody did first.
I agree.
Yeah, a lot of people have done a lot of crazy things first, but that doesn't mean that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
No way. I don't understand. It was so steep.
Yeah, I think playing into the steepness and having the guides and stuff, I think that's why you need a guide. I think back to what you were saying, if you're an expert hiker and you've done a lot of hikes, you can maybe get to that point, but the government wants you to say, or wants you to have a guide with you. Just because you're up there and there's like really no way of getting you down. Unless you get carried down, really.
It's just a liability.
Yeah, you're so far up there and you fall off the trail and there's brush everywhere.
There's brush everywhere.
Brush. So like the recovery, I'm sure, is
a pain in the ass.
Right, so
he had insurance. The guide had to have insurance. Right. He was taking photos all the way through.
Oh my gosh.
So many photos and videos. We think it was for insurance.
Hey,
for the government.
These people were with us right here. I don't know where they fell off the mountain.
Like, we started at 7. I don't know where the 6th one went, you know? Yeah. I do think that. And that guide, if you remember, he said he does it like 3 or 4 times a week. Dog, no thank you, my dude.
We saw him sweat like once.
How?
Once.
How did
he was basically sprinting ahead of us.
Had a whole backpack of water and gave all of it to everybody. I don't even think I saw him really drink his water. Yeah. And we put down 2 liters easy. And I'm saying, Devin's right, I could have easily brought a 3rd liter and went through it. It wasn't even, it was hot, but it's a different kind of hot over here. It's like those plants in the mountain like really trap the heat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it almost the heat sticks to you. It's almost just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's always there. I know that.
A deep sense of humidity.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, it was pretty great. Overall, though, really good hike, though.
Really good hike. An interesting piece of it, too, worth mentioning, is we went with 2 locals, our friend Jose that we talk about a lot, and Jose's secretary, which is his good friend that lives right next to him, they had never done it. They've lived here their whole lives, and neither one of them have ever done it. And we've done that a couple times in other places that we travel. We took Yasmin to Garbage City, which I personally love. I love experiencing this, but like locals, you've never been here?
Yeah.
It's like taking a local to Willistown for the first time. It's
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
You've never been out here, so it was interesting. Jose, just shout out Jose, dude. We probably couldn't have fully figured this out without him. But that being said, dude was struggling a little bit. Both of his shoes broke.
Yep.
What?
Whole
Yeah,
sole came off.
real hiking shoes too. Real hiking shoes.
Yeah.
He said they're really old, but they didn't look that old. The bottoms of them, they were just like talking. So he was struggling that way. But we went on this other hike that's real close to our place right here. That's just like a normal, like when I was describing the LA sign hike. It's just like a normal, local hike. We were doing that and we were dying. And he was like, "What are you doing, you pussies?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
a bunch of little kids hiking this trail.
He was not saying that on this hike.
He was not talking shit
Wasn't
here.
like throwing up or anything, but he was staying pretty silent. I think he had his own internal struggle.
And his secretary was hiking in rain boots, dude.
Short socks, rain boots.
They were like grounding throughout periods of this, like taking their shoes off. I was like, yo.
Yeah.
I don't know how she did it. She had rubber boots, like legit.
Yeah, they were
She's
like
20 years old, dude. There's a difference between 20-year-old feet and my 33-year-old man feet.
I don't
That's just,
know.
Yeah.
But
she
did it.
whiz.
She fell a couple times on the way down, and
No shade.
I fell a couple times too, because going down is tough. Going down is tougher than I thought.
You have to pay attention.
Yeah, but it was cool to experience that with two locals. They were like, "Yeah, I've known about this. It's a landmark, basically, and they've just never been to. It's just kind of cool."
That crazy fact you told about the coffee thing. You remember that? The Coffee Federation?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember the exact fact, but
I think you said something
it's
like...
the image of Cerro Tusa is on every branded image of the Coffee Federation, something like that.
Yeah, the top of it is.
Yeah.
Like the peak.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, very cool. And just real quick, too, the top. We got to the top. It was definitely like a triumphant thing. It was real tiny, of course, because it's a pyramid.
No bigger than our balcony, really.
One little bench, like 400,000 butterflies for some reason. If anybody's listening to this and is into biology, please tell me why all the butterflies are at the top of a mountain. What are they doing up there?
No idea. There's no plants up there, really.
What's happening?
It was just flat. Yeah, the bench was just a pallet that they somehow got up there.
It's just a big pallet.
No shade
on the ground.
It's super hot, and you think, okay, there may have been planted some sort of big plant up here for shade. Turns out, no, nobody was considerate at all. They said, go ahead, you've been baking in the sun for 2 hours. Please get to the destination and bake some more.
They're probably just keep it moving, get off this thing.
Yeah.
They don't
There
want you
there
there.
is a limit to how much time you can spend up there.
Probably.
Yeah, you could spend 35, 40 minutes, I think, at the top max. I don't know. I was trying to smoke a blunt up there, and there was too many people. It just didn't work out. I don't know.
The whole time I was up there, I honestly wanted to just go back down. But these guys enjoyed it. But me, when I talk about dead, I was dead. I was struggling. But on the way down, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, you made it.
Very easy.
You made it.
But
Now you're a hiker.
definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it. The view is beautiful. That's for sure.
Devin's a hiker now.
I don't know about all that.
If his friends listen to that, don't let him live it down. He's a hiker. He's a biker bro and a hiker, and now he's a pyramid pal.
Sure.
Yeah, at the beginning too, our guide took us to this area where there was like a big rock, and like the indigenous people
Yep.
did sacrifices for the mountain.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
It was interesting because, of course, again, we speak very limited Spanish. Our guide only spoke Spanish. So we had two guides. We had our guide that knew all the information about it and was like reading the sign and explaining it. And then our friend Jose, who was like, it was like a game of telephone.
Yeah, Jose's trying to translate. And Jose doesn't speak the best English. A lot of times he will talk to me and he's, no, en español. And I'm like having to speak to him in my Spanish, which is probably equivalent to his English. And like we're going back and forth and he's having to translate this guy. And I pick up maybe half of it, maybe a quarter of it, and Jose picks up the rest, and we're piecing it together to get the story. And we got the ancient history of the place, and then we saw the original trail where the indigenous people walked through. They built that, and on the side of the mountain, there's this structure. It's like a rock that oddly looks just like a person. Like, it is shaped like a face. And they don't know if it was man-made or if it was naturally made. I just looking at it, maybe we could throw a picture in here, but there's no way it's naturally made. It is too close to a human face to be naturally made.
He said it's been there so long that they actually don't know if it's man-made or natural.
There's no chance it's natural. It just looks too much like a human. I don't know how they would get down there to that place in the mountain, because it's like in the middle of the side of a mountain, and there's no way to get to that. I don't know the mountain like that. I'm not like that, but it didn't seem like it was accessible.
Definitely right. Yeah, it was in a weird place. And then we also, before we went up to the top, we're doing this all out of order. That's okay. Who cares? We go to the mountain and we like ask permission for something or other. I only got half of what he was saying. We had to like these. It was like this. The bottom of the mountain was just like some kind of
ask for permission. I think is what it was.
Yeah,
we had to put our hands on the thing and ask for permission.
Yeah.
We were making jokes at those the whole time.
Yeah,
but I didn't really get what the backstory of that was.
It's part of the like rituals of the ancient people, and I can't quite remember all the details, but they worshipped that rock. It was really important, just like El Peñol is to some extent. El Peñol, the reason it was is popular is because they worshipped it.
That is a weird structure.
Yeah, it's all one rock, is what they said, and then that spot was where they had ceremonies, and they used that wall to reverb sound, meditate,
that's right.
and have like fires and things. It was very ceremonial, and then they would ask permission when going up the mountain, because it was a sacred spot, to be safe, protect them, the 1, 2s, and 3s, give them whatever they needed, and then they would go up. And so, as a practice of tradition, they stop at this spot now, the guides do, and they have people, if they want, put their hands on the wall and ask for permission, safety, guidance to climb the mountain.
Yep.
Really cool spot. You can still see structure. You can still see a little bit of the evidence of like fire, I think, on the side of the mountain, on the side of the rock.
Yeah.
There's like stadium-esque seating built in rocks, like a little bit away from it, so you can see.
That looks new, though.
Yeah, I imagine it was built just as like a replica of what was.
Yeah.
Because I bet that was the ceremonial area. It was probably a little bit more carved out and such, like less shrubbery and such.
Was that the start of the climb, or did we have to go a little bit
No,
more?
we walked through a little bit more, and then we started the hike.
Walked around that thing that they were building.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got to that
Exactly.
checkpoint.
Yep,
and then
exactly.
We went.
Yep, exactly.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, we finally did it. Look that up if you're ever in Colombia.
Cerro Tusa,
It's
Cerro
like
Tusa.
an hour and a half or so outside of Medellin, right?
Yep. Kind of
It's
next to Venecia, near like Jericho or Jardín, Fredonia, like in that general area. All of those towns could be hit, and you could see Cerro Tusa. CERO space TUSA.
You get there from Venecia, though.
Yeah, Venecia is like the town next to it. It's the small town next to it.
I don't know if they know, but we rented the motos. But I suggest that as a second person being out of the country, him how many ever years, and him starting out, and it has been around. But the city is a little hard to get there. But I think what he was getting to is that if you take a moto, you see so much more with the trip. And even if you're done, you might be able to get a bite to eat and go further whatever direction, or come back and figure something else out. I don't know.
Yeah, I love the motos versus the car too. Like renting a car I've done before, and it's just not as enjoyable.
Yeah.
Being in the motos, everybody else is just so much more fun. Like you get to experience stuff. Like definitely the way to go. Renting motos.
Yeah, but
100%.
getting to Cerro Tusa on a moto, you get to see the perspective a little bit better.
Totally, I agree with
getting
that.
there. You're like, oh, I'm climbing that. I'm climbing
Yeah, I
that.
questioned it as we were approaching. I was like, oh, shit.
But yeah, it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it for really a second timer. Minus Rio. So
Yeah, glad you were there.
I think anyone could really do it. And then that was another thing. Being there and seeing the other people that were climbing it, not to be disrespectful, but you're like, okay, I think I can do this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And it didn't look like anybody was really quitting. Like they were powering through.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
cool, guys. We'll drop some more information and links on this if you want to check it out. It's definitely off the beaten path. It's not your typical tourist spot.
Not for
and
everybody.
not for the Fade to Fart. He says easy. He's done the Grand Canyon and shit. We're not hikers. I would still say dangerously difficult.
On a
Was
scale of 1 to
pretty-
10 for you
was
guys,
pretty
10
accurate.
being super difficult, almost impossible, you're quitting. 1 is like a walk in the park.
I think it was about a 7.
7 for you?
7.5.
And for you?
I'd say 7 or an 8. Near the last, couple hundred feet?
Yeah, you weren't making it.
Oh, gosh. He was sitting there huffing and puffing and was like, you got this. And I was like, I don't know.
Solid 4 for me. Solid 4.
4? He's lying. He's capping.
7 or 8 for
No,
sure.
4.
No, listen to that.
4.
Yeah. All right, guys. Peace.